listening to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Hey, Forgers, and welcome to episode 6 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I'm your host, Jeff Reynolds, and the amazing Heroes Forge co-host is Kristen Ashton. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going today?
It is very well on the Super Bowl Sunday, but another reason we are doing really well is that we have a very special guest host today. I'd like to announce that our special guest host for the show, please welcome the gaming enthusiast, Twitch streamer, and bowtie master, Justin Foster, a.k.a. Cavalier Guest. Welcome, Justin.
If you're going to introduce me that way, I should have worn a bow tie.
I do think you're a bowtie master, though. I've seen your streams, and man, those bow ties are perfect.
Oh, I appreciate that. I actually did a tutorial the other day on how to tie a quickly dye bow tie.
No way.
The stream asked for it, yeah.
It's not easy.
It's actually pretty easy.
Oh, is it? You schooled me right there in the first 5 seconds. You schooled me that tying a bow tie is pretty easy. I can't do it. Kristen, have you ever tried?
No, not at all. But to be fair, I never really have been in an occasion where I've needed to wear a bow tie.
Right. Maybe you'll have to tie it for someone else sometime.
Fair enough, but that's in the future.
Welcome to Heroes Forge, everyone. So if this is your first time listening to Heroes Forge, we are a community-driven podcast all about you, the community of the hit Blizzard MOBA, Heroes of the Storm. So to start this off, we have a special guest. So Justin, I want to hear a little bit about your history with Blizzard games you've played in the past, maybe some of your favorites, and maybe some of your favorite moments, if you have any.
Oh wow, that's like a long story. I played the original Warcraft. I played Warcraft 2. I even played Warcraft 2 on BattleNet. And then what really actually hooked me, the first Blizzard game that I was like, this is amazing, though, was actually the original StarCraft. And I spent thousands of hours playing the original StarCraft, and there was something about the storyline of the game, and it was like the first RTS I got really into, even though I had played Dune before, or I played Command & Conquer, they just didn't really grab me the same way, but something about StarCraft. And then, of course, I played the original Diablo, and it was whatever, but then Diablo 2, another game I sunk literally thousands and thousands and thousands of hours into, farming drops. I'm apparently I didn't know this until recently, but apparently I didn't really like Lord of Destruction, and apparently a lot of people still play original and don't play Lord of Destruction at all. I'm not as in the minority as I thought I was on that one. I just recently discovered this.
Yeah, I can't. I've been on Diablo 3 for so long. Lord of Destruction, that was back in the early times of my gaming. So, Kristen, what do you think? I think I liked it, but obviously not as much as Diablo 2.
It's the original. I couldn't bring myself to dedicate as many hours as I dedicated to the original Diablo 2. Putting into the expansion, and that expansion was long.
Yeah, they're all pretty long games. I mean, Justin, do you play Diablo 3, or have you played it?
I played Diablo 3. I have the mount to prove it from the in HOTS. I got power level to 70. I didn't actually play, but I have played Diablo 3. I played a Season 2 monk for quite a while. I was a big fan of the frozen, what is it, the Tempest build. I forgot the name of it. It's the ability where you just run constantly and it slowly stacks of abilities to 100, and then you let it go and it just blows everything up. It was a fun build. It was not the optimal build, but it was really fun.
But what optimal build is fun? Usually it's the off sides that are more fun.
I mean, that depends on how you want to enjoy the game. But
fair enough.
That's true, and I think that the same goes for Heroes of the Storm, too, because, in there, sometimes the optimal build is not the one that I like to play, and I know sometimes I take some flack for that from other people that I'm playing with. Yeah.
Well, I think in Diablo it's different, though, because Diablo is not necessarily competitive in the same way that HOTS is. HOTS is competitive, so people expect a certain level of performance in at least Hero League.
Yeah, and it's team-based.
And it's
so
team-based.
You can have a team in Diablo, but it runs a little differently than Heroes
Yeah, you
does.
could go run off and do your own thing, and it wouldn't matter.
Exactly. So cool, Justin. You've been a fan of Blizzard games for a long time, it sounds like it.
A very long time. I don't think there's a single Blizzard game I haven't played. I've even played the original Lost Vikings.
Ooh,
oh, wow.
Cool.
I tried. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen the speedrun for Lost Vikings.
No.
So the way they do the speedrun for Lost Vikings is they take 2 controllers and they sandwich them together, and they have the guy who does the speedrun uses his bottom 2 fingers to control one controller on the underside, and then uses his other fingers to control the top controller.
Oh
So
my
he's
goodness.
he's doing all the Vikings at the same time using these two controllers. And I tried to emulate the speed run, and it's not. I can't do it. My fingers aren't that intelligent.
Basically like practicing a piano. You gotta know.
I can play the piano though. I can't do this.
Oh,
But
gotcha. So it's different.
it's impossible.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
impossible.
he used video manipulation to fake him doing it. Like
Oh man, I can only imagine. I can also only imagine the amount of comedy that would come out of me attempting to do that, and it would be so funny. That's great. Cool. Awesome, Justin. So, Justin, tell us a little bit about your position in the Heroes of the Storm community. You're a streamer, correct?
I do stream a lot of Heroes of the Storm. This is my very first MOBA. And I've only
cool.
been playing it for about 6 months. Technically, I played it in alpha and beta a little bit, but it didn't really hook me. But then release came, and my stream actually talked me into doing a 24-hour stream of it.
Oh, wow.
So I did a 24-hour stream of it. By the end of the 24-hour stream, I was playing Hero League.
Nice.
And I got addicted to the drafting process and the team play and to the coordination and the way pieces of a team can fit together. And I think it's the map dynamics, right? The map dynamics are really hooking. Every map has its own unique strategies, its own tactics that you need to think about, and it changes the way each hero plays to a degree.
Right. That's what sets Heroes of the Storm apart from other MOBAs, I hear, is that all the map objectives and the map differences in the game, and really what brings it, it sets it apart from Dota or League of Legends.
Yep.
Exactly. So I've been playing HOTS for pretty much every day for the last 6 months. I got to rank 1. I found a group of people that I started doing scrims with, because it's when you have a draft, the game is when you have a draft with bans, the game is just a lot better.
Right.
When you're all on comms, the game's a lot better. You can kind of get that with Team League, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Kristen, are you crossing your fingers for a draft someday too? Because I am.
I'm just waiting to see what happens. I want the arena to come out.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for the arena.
When I say draft, I mean bans, because the bans are...
Yeah, it's 2 bans for each team they're talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
Apparently it's months, not weeks away.
Yeah, just like Arena.
Verbatim from Dustin Browder's
soon,
quote.
quote unquote, yeah.
Yeah. Everything is soon in Blizzard terms, which we never really know what that means, right?
So then
Justin, have you had a chance to play the Arena? We got to play it at BlizzCon a little bit, but have you played it?
I have not. Someone on my stream bought me a virtual ticket to BlizzCon, but
Nice.
yeah, I
Very
didn't
cool.
actually get to go in person.
Yeah, it's a great experience. I recommend it to anybody out there that hasn't been able to go. And Squinty Eyes in the chat is saying the Dream Arena would be 5v5 all lost Vikings, and then all you would have to do is have one player playing all of them with multiple controllers taped together.
Oh my goodness.
I think that would be really cool. So, very cool, Justin. Well, we are so excited and happy that you're able to join us on the show today, and we have some really, really, really cool things in store. So, with that being said, let's forge.
Let's forge.
All right, Forgers. Kristen, I know Justin picked this hero, so Justin, what hero are we forging for Heroes of the Storm today?
Nozdormu.
Oh, Nozdormu. I am so excited. And when we were originally talking, Justin, about Nozdormu, we were talking about how it would really, really change the way the game is played. And just like we were talking about earlier in this episode, what sets Heroes of the Storm apart, one of the things is the battlegrounds, but they also have heroes that can be played by 2 people, heroes like Abathur that, aren't necessarily in the thick of the fight, and that's what sets them apart. And I think Nozdormu would be another hero that would do that. So, Kristen, why don't you give us a little a rundown on Nozdormu?
Will do. It is said that time is a river. One cannot touch the same water twice, because what has passed will never pass again. It was this river Nozdormu was given charge of by the great titans of eons past. His role? To protect the sanctity of its waters from those that would seek to poison them, and the fate of all those bound to it. So it came to pass that Nozdormu became the Timeless, the one that faithfully watches over time itself, protecting its ever-spinning, aligning, and separating fates. Yet this power was not without its cost. For to keep Nozdormu forever respectful, the Titans also bestowed upon him the knowledge of his own demise, as the crazed Murazond, Lord of the Infinite Dragonflight. Even with such a heavy burden, Nozdormu does not allow this fate to prevent him from carrying out his sworn duty of guarding time from all those that would abuse its power. Though rarely seen in the world of Azeroth, he does visit when time beckons him to wade in its waters once more.
Oh, so cool. Time altering in the game, right, Justin?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
I think it'd be very difficult to actually do in a way that doesn't completely break the game. But
Right.
But this is our imagination.
But who cares?
Right? It could be everything.
Yes, it's not our job to create something that's practical. It's our job to create something that's fun, especially for the listeners of Heroes Forge. So if this is your first time listening, we're going to come up with some ideas here for Nozdormu that might seem a little OP, a little out of bounds, but this is again for fun and to just brainstorm on what we think the character would be like if it was added to the game. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing that we start with when we're talking about a hero is its role classification in the game. So Justin, what role classification do you think this character would have?
I mean, it has to be specialist, right?
Right.
Because he's not going to be some sort of frontliner, although, you know, a dragon presumably is pretty tough. But, and he's not really sort of an assassin sort of guy. He's not into killing people. He's into small adjustments to, you know, preserve the timeline, save people from bad fates. So that could kind of make him a support. He could be like a very unique sort of support.
Right.
But I really think specialist is the only tag that's going to work.
Yeah, I went specialist as well, actually, on my build. But Kristen, I'm looking at you, and you might be thinking something different.
I actually went with warrior, but going off that whole idea that small incremental adjustments to control the fate of the battle, and in that case, being a dragon too, the biggest creature on the field, it would be a prime target.
Ooh, see, I like that. You're going to have to convince Justin and myself about that because I'm pretty sold on specialists too.
Oh yeah,
I thought,
you totally can be, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it could be whatever. I think that's really smart though, the way that you brought up the turning the tide, because we all think the same direction initially, you know, controlling the tide of battle. I actually built mine basically on the fact of him in his humanoid form, not necessarily in the dragon form, which I know in the game. Justin, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but he is shown in his humanoid form as well.
He is. He's usually actually in his humanoid form in the lore and in the game, sort of influencing events and being here and being there. You only see him in his dragon form when you go to the Caverns of Time.
Oh,
Just
very
where
cool.
he hangs out on his off days.
That's where I hang out at Chipotle on my off days. Not as cool as Caverns of Time, I don't think.
No.
So for the warrior version, Kristen, what trait were you thinking would fit Nozdormu?
I was thinking a trait called dragon form, and Nozdormu can shift between human form and dragon form at a moment's notice. Dragon form offers him more health but slower attack speed. Human form offers him lower health but faster attack speed.
Oh, I like that. I like that, especially with the warrior role classification, I think. And that also seems to me as if it would be a high skill cap kind of thing, where you have to choose when and where, what form you're in, right?
You'd have to be able to read a situation.
Right. Yeah, that wouldn't be for, I mean, Justin, you're rank 1. I'm down here rank 35, hopefully. So,
Hopefully.
I mean, it would,
Not playing anymore. It's staying at 35.
it would make him a skirmishing warrior, kind of, especially if he had some sort of disengage. And there's not a lot of, I don't think there's any none of the warriors are really skirmishers. So that would fill a niche that doesn't currently exist. That would be pretty interesting, actually.
right. Very cool. Justin, what were you thinking for his trait?
I was thinking for his trait. So back to all the maps being really cool. I wanted to call his trait Not Yet Time. And if there's a map objective or a capture point or a channeling point of any kind on the map, it stops for 10 seconds.
Oh no.
So tributes, for instance, get frozen, or the countdown to the tribute gets frozen. If they're trying to cap a boss, the boss turning point gets frozen. if you're trying to like capture the Dragon Knight, frozen, right? And
Oh, wow.
it's an activatable trait on like a relatively long cooldown. But since
Perfect
every map has a turn-in point of some kind or some sort of channeling activity, and sometimes your team's slow on rotations, or you're waiting for someone to come back from the dead, just pause. You just get to pause the map objective.
So when you pause it, is it still capturable or is it locked?
No, it's locked. No one can interact with it. Your team can.
That's dirty. I like it.
There would be so many nasty chats going on.
Oh man, I've seen some nasty chats, but that one would be, and man, that is cool. So what were you thinking? How often could you activate it, or are you just able to do it whenever?
So most of the map objectives are like on a 220-ish second delay. So I was thinking that every 3 minutes would be a reasonable cooldown, so 180 seconds, because that way it would be up for every single objective if you really needed it. But it would also, there would be strategy in the late game of whether or not you really needed to use it for this tribute, for instance on Cursed Hollow, or do you want to save it because you think they might be trying to go for a boss steal and you want to have time to rotate to get there. There would be a strategic element in the high-level gameplay for which objectives are actually more important to stop.
I like that. You've done the math on this. That's pretty awesome. That would be really, really cool to have on your side and really, really frustrating to have against you. I think that's a really, really that's a funny idea. I like it a lot. My idea was called something called Just in Time. When Nozdormu is struck down, he never truly dies. He is immediately seen as a shadow figure that rewinds back to the position he held 10 seconds beforehand. This act uses all mana that Nozdormu has remaining to accomplish. If Nozdormu has no mana at the time of death, he is rewound all the way to the core, and this rewind takes the full amount of the player's acquired death timer. So I was trying to come up with an idea of, because he knows his own fate, right, Kristen?
Yes.
That's the whole lore behind it. So I was thinking he wouldn't really die, right?
Fair enough.
I mean, maybe he just knows that this is coming. So I was thinking, well, how would we do this so that it wouldn't be too OP? So I'm saying maybe he just kind of shadow walks and rewinds back to a position he held 10 seconds beforehand. But when he respawns, he has to have some sort of downfall of dying, of being taken out of the fight, so he just doesn't have any mana.
Just Prince of Persia's it.
Yeah, exactly. Prince of Persia's it. So that was my idea.
Awesome.
Lots of really good ideas for traits. I dig it. So my idea for his mount, which is the next thing that we talk about, because I said that Nozdormu in my mind would be in his humanoid form the entire battle, that his mount would be his dragon form. So he would transform into his dragon, allowing him to move at a mounted speed. But something that's different in my mind is that he wouldn't be dismounted if he gets hit by an attack or a basic attack, and he's not able to use any of his abilities while he's in dragon form, obviously, because that would be mounted and moving. But what about you, Justin? What were you thinking for his mount idea?
Oh, it's the one thing I didn't think about. I thought about just giving him a generic mount, but now I'm thinking about it. That's a hard question, right? Because he should be able to turn into a dragon, and I have some ideas for him turning into a dragon, but we'll get to those later. How would he be mounted? Can we skip me? Can we come back to me?
Sure, of course. Kristen, what do you think?
Regular as a human, regular mounts, I was thinking. And then if he's in dragon form, he'd just fly around as a dragon.
Yeah, I think that's, Justin, I think that's pretty much a given, especially with heroes like, a Nubarak, the wings pop out, all stuff like that. I think he would have the same kind of feel, don't you?
I don't know. I don't want to step on Falstad's toes, but now I'm thinking that actually giving him flight would be really cool.
Ooh.
Right? Because it makes a point, and sometimes when they're talking about the lore, where he literally walks around as like a beggar because he's trying to slightly change the flow of time, and he just wants to observe things and make small changes. And he's not really sort of the person who rides anywhere when you see him. He's either flying or pretending to be human and walking.
Yeah.
Right.
So what if he could fly to places?
That'd be cool, especially if you tied it into your trait with if you had to be a certain area around an objective before you paused it. So he could fly in, and then, that everybody's coming to capture the tribute.
That would be
And they're like, we got this, guys. Then Nozdormu flies in, locks the tribute down, the chat goes crazy in the game, and then the other team wins. I think that's good. Cool. Thinking outside the box. I totally dig it. So, Kristen, what were you thinking for his Q?
For Q, well, when I was reading about him, apparently he can use sand to create armor around him at some point. So I created something called Sand Shield, and in a moment's notice, Nozdormu calls upon the sands of time to shield him from incoming damage. It's stronger on maps with sandy designs, such as Sky Temple and Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Nice. And so it's stronger because it can take more damage?
Stronger because there's more sand.
Oh, that's practical. I dig it. Stronger because it's more sand. That's great. Yeah, and speaking of the sand, there's a couple of really cool images where his shoulder pad, I believe it's his right shoulder pad, is actually full of the sand of time, you know, and at one point it might break open or something and the sand comes out, which looked really cool. So putting sand in it is a great idea. Justin, what were you thinking about his Q?
So I have a idea. My idea for a Q, sort of more along the specialist line, was Better Days. And it was basically like a narrow sort of conal shot in front of him. Maybe not even a cone, maybe just a straight line. And it opens a narrow window into the recent past. And it reverts any damage to minions, mercenaries, or buildings that has occurred within the last 5 seconds.
Oh, so they heal.
So you can't like restore dead things, but it restores ammo and health to towers.
Ammo.
Oh, nice.
Because other than Mule, there's not really a way of doing that. And it would make him a very defensive specialist if you had a team that was pushing very hard, or if you were a very late game team and you needed to stay defensive early, he would be a really good pickup because he could just constantly refill the health on your towers while the enemy team was trying to push them down on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen or Cursed Hollow.
Yeah, which would be very, very nice too if you're down by yourself trying to protect from a 5-man push and there's no one around to help for a few more seconds.
Right.
And then I was thinking if it was used on allies, it could revert some of the damage that had been done to them in the last 5 seconds. So maybe like 20 to 50% of the damage that had been done to them in the last 5 seconds just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's definitely a support kind of feature, right? Maybe you could talent into that to be able, you know, it starts out doing it to structures and minions and mercenaries, but then if you talent into it, it could eventually go into helping out friendly heroes too, right? Super cool. My Q was called Sands of Time. Nozdormu sends the Sands of Time backwards, sends the Sands of Time towards an enemy in a cone shape. When this ability hits, it blinds the target and slows their movement speed, but does not do any damage. The target is now marked with Nozdormu's Collection, which is a debuff that I'll talk about later.
Oh, jeez.
So it's, I know, right, just going to keep piling it on top, all this OP stuff. But I was thinking it couldn't do damage at this point, especially when you hear my E, which is a little different.
Oh, no.
But see, we're all on the same page here. Kristen's talking about Sands of Time. I'm talking about a cone shape, just like Justin was talking about. So great minds. This is a great minds moment. I totally dig it. So we heard everyone's cue. So let's talk about W, and I'll go first this time. His W ability for me is called Grandfather Time. And this was actually a suggestion from one of our listeners who's in the chat room right now, Squinty Eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Was hit us up on Twitter and said, you know, it's got to have something to do with the 15-second turn limit in Hearthstone. So Nozdormu is a card inside of Hearthstone as well, and it's a legendary card that forces your opponent to have to take their turn in 15 seconds. Now, in some of these pro games, that's a huge deal. People have much less time to take their turn than normal, so that's a cool thing. So Squinty Eyes said, you've got to put that in the kit. So I came up with an idea, and this was off of his suggestion. So Nozdormu wields a staff that he uses for his basic attacks. When W is activated, Nozdormu is able to channel space and time through the staff and fires a bronze blast that does damage to enemy heroes. The ability also randomly selects an ability from the enemy hero's kit and puts it on a 15-second cooldown.
Oh.
So it hits him, and then it's just random. It's RNG. That's Hearthstone, guys. That's Hearthstone right there. It hits him, and it goes, oh, crap, one of my basic abilities just went on cooldown. You know, you hit that KT, it can't do any of his, or one of his basic abilities just goes on cooldown.
That would be very frustrating if it was Living Bomb.
Oh, the combo would be broken.
So pretty much the most frustrating character we have forged on the show so far, I think, for the enemy teams.
I'm cringing
Don't you,
just
Kristen?
thinking about this.
Oh, what was your idea, Kristen?
Sands of Time, actually. I think we're going to get a lot of Sands of Time talk in here today.
Love it. Love it.
And this one, you activate to rewind time, placing Nozdormu or target team hero back to where they were, and with the same health and mana they had 2 seconds prior.
Ooh, so that's the same kind of thing Justin was talking about with
Yeah.
moving them back in time.
Yep.
I'm just picturing how awesome this could be in the game if it wasn't OP. I mean, I like that 2 seconds. The 2 seconds seems like something, and a lot can happen in 2 seconds, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, 2 seconds is forever.
Some of the best CC abilities in the game don't even last 2 seconds. They're like a second and a half. So,
Yeah. Which would be crazy to think about. That resets that like that. Great idea. What do you think, Justin, for W?
my W is called Stealing the Future. And basically it gives a buff to HP and damage for like 5 to 6 seconds, somewhere around there, right? Then after 5 seconds, you lose the buff, and then all of your cooldowns recharge 25% slower for like 5 seconds. So
You gotta pay for that.
So it'd be like a really good buff on a mage. You would throw it on someone who does a lot of burst ability-based damage, and they could go in a little bit deeper because they have that extra HP cushion. They could drop all of their abilities with 10% extra damage and then sort of back out, and then they would lose the buff, and they'd be out of the fight for a little bit longer in exchange for having done a lot more damage.
Yeah.
Right, so that there also, it would take time to lose the debuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool. I love that idea. Yeah, because there's nothing really that plays around with... I mean, Kristen, is there that you know of anything in the game that plays around with other heroes' cooldowns right now? I don't think so.
There's not.
Yeah, I mean, aside from a Sylvanas silence, but that doesn't really mess with your cooldowns. It just prevents you from hitting.
So cool. We need to have that in the game, I'm telling you.
You would just need to make sure you have party members that are aware when they're buffed, so they know when to go
Yeah,
in.
you need like a good visual indicator. You could have like an hourglass pop up over their head and start ticking down.
Yeah, or just a giant go in.
This is a use it or lose it moment for you.
Exactly.
You're either going to win us the game or we're going to hate you for it.
Yeah, and when it's over, get out of Dodge. Like, don't hang around when it's over. Like, it needs to have the hourglass needs to flip over or something, and then a big red flashing "get out" has got to come up on the screen and say "get out, get out, get out." That'd be that would be necessary in my league.
But
I'm telling you.
it'd also make him a really good companion to any sort of dive or burst hero, because generally when you have a dive comp, you go in and you either win the fight in 5 seconds or you're screwed.
Yeah.
So like that would be the ideal sort of dive companion to have.
Oh yeah.
And most of the specialists are not good in dive comps. So this would be the first specialist who's actually good with dive comps.
Right, and I'm thinking of some synergies with like an ETC mosh pit or something. Throw it on there if you have an ETC on your team. Then they can do the damage and have time to get out before everybody stops breakdancing, you know?
Yeah.
Super cool synergies. I love it. W's are all A pluses. I love it. Kristen, what were you thinking for his E?
Eye for an eye. After tanking damage, Nozdormu can immediately deal that much damage back to target enemy hero.
Love it. Eye for an eye. Makes me think of Hearthstone again, that card in Hearthstone, which essentially does the same thing. Yeah, super cool. So how long does it last, are you thinking? So is it one attack that's coming in? So you see a living bomb coming and it's about to hit you, so you activate Eye for an Eye and then it just automatically does that damage back, or is it for a specific amount of time?
I think when you first choose it, it would be for a specific attack that you receive. It wouldn't be very long, it wouldn't be very special because, you know, it's the beginning of the game. But as you ramp it up, I think you could spec into it and make it something phenomenal.
Right. Like it would take a whole bunch of damage.
Yeah, just imagine an enemy team throwing all of their ults on you, and you've activated Eye for an Eye, so you're just standing there being healed, soaking the damage, and then you turn around and just blow up the nearest enemy.
Or you rewind them all, and then you pause the objective, and then you're...
oh God, he's got everything. He's got.
Yeah. We should just combine all of our ideas and send it off to Dustin at Blizzard and just have him, build this hero. I mean, I think it's complete. Don't you, Justin?
Oh yeah, it's nothing broken about this at all.
No.
Nothing. What's your E idea?
My E idea is called Time is a Bubble. You throw out a small zone of controlled time. I think like the base size would be about the default size of Janus Blizzard, but I would have talents to make it bigger.
Okay.
All allies in the bubble, all of their CDs recharge 100% faster, and all of the enemies in the zone, their CDs recharge 50% slower.
Ooh.
That sounds heroic to me. That sounds pretty awesome. Yeah. What do you think, Kristen?
Oh, evil, but great. If you have it on your team, of course. That's always a stipulation. It's a terrible, terrible choice, unless that hero's on your team, and then it's amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like Li Ming.
There we go. Right now, you want the better Li Ming. You hope you get the good one.
That's right. Again, in my leagues, Justin, I'm sure at rank 1 it's a little different. What are your thoughts on Li Ming? Just to sidebar a little bit.
Li Ming is a snowball hero, right? If you're winning a team fight, she causes you to win the team fight even harder. So if you don't have good positioning and you or draft very fragile heroes and the Li Ming gets a good flank off, you're going to lose the fight.
Yeah.
The solution to any hero is not dying, right?
Right.
The solution to Li Ming is especially not dying. You need to not die when you're up against a Li Ming.
Right.
Even harder than you'd have to do against other heroes, because you will just straight up lose the team fight if all her cooldowns reset and she gets to go again.
Right. Unless you have Nozdormu on the other end and he's jacking up all of her cooldowns, and This is the counter. This is the counter. I dig it.
But yeah.
So
Li Ming is hard to deal with. She's just straight up hard to deal with.
Yeah, and hard to learn. I mean, I do believe she's a high skill cap hero too, which is...
She is to some degree. She's a lot like the old school Jaina. Jaina used to be a very flank heavy hero before the scaling changes, which made her significantly more fragile. And she doesn't flank as much anymore because A, she's more fragile, and B, her burst is actually slightly lower because she depended so much on her trait to escalate her damage.
Right.
And the sheer range of Li Ming's abilities, plus the fact that she has that teleport to get away or get over obstacles, means you can play her a lot like old school Jaina. So if that was a playstyle you were very familiar with, it's like putting on an old set of clothes or something. It's like you haven't worn it in a while, so maybe it doesn't fit quite right in places, but you kind of feel like it's a place you've been before.
Yeah.
Right. That's probably why a lot of people are pro at her right off the start too. I mean, because they've played that type of thing before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Yeah. Well. Talking about OP heroes, I'll move into my E, which is called Nozdormu's Collection, which is the debuff that came from my Q called Sands of Time.
Oh, God.
So Nozdormu's Collection is a debuff that is placed on an enemy hero through the use of Sands of Time. When the enemy hero is afflicted with Nozdormu's Collection, they are cursed for a small period of time. When the enemy hero is cursed, it allows Nozdormu to access their kit and place one of their basic abilities on cooldown. This is activated by clicking on the hero, and their kit pops up on the screen, and you get to click the ability you want to place on its full cooldown.
Does that apply to heroics?
No. Okay. Basic abilities.
Okay. Oh, so we're going to nerf this one a bit.
just basic abilities.
We're going to make it fair here.
I see both of your faces, and I'm like, basic abilities. Just basic abilities.
Okay.
Heroics here.
But again, along the same lines of what we've been going through, we all have the same idea that this hero would be awesome if it had the ability to adjust cooldowns for other heroes on the battlefield. And that was just my thought on that, which is pretty much in line with what you guys were thinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's move into the most fun that we have on this show, which is forging the hero's heroics.
Heroic.
So in case you were thinking our other abilities weren't heroic enough, we're about to get into some really cool heroic ideas that probably need to be nerfed on a Wednesday patch. So I'll talk about my first one, which is called Hourglass of Time. Nozdormu has the ability to choose a point in time to rewind to. When the ability is chosen, Nozdormu sets a mark on the timeline of the game. The hero has a period of 1 minute to choose if they'd like to travel back in time to the selected spot. At the point of traveling back in time, when it's selected, all friendly units spend all mana to make this happen and travel back in time, restarting with an empty mana pool. The mana penalty does not apply to the enemy team. When this ability is chosen, Nozdormu loses his trait. So the trait that I have, just to remind everyone, was called Just in Time, and that's the one where if he dies, he rewinds. So he kind of has to select this knowing I can set up, so we're going into a big team fight. I know we're going into a big team fight. I'm going to put a mark on the timeline here. Bam, drop it down. We go into a team fight. We all lose. Nozdormu still has to be alive, in my mind, to activate this heroic. He activates the heroic, and the whole game rewinds to whenever that point was set. And he has 60 seconds to use it after the point is set. So then when it rewinds, everybody respawns, but they're all out of mana completely on your team. But the enemy team has a full... They're just however they were at that point.
Wow.
Silence.
Wow.
Silence.
Okay, now would the enemy team see that the point in past time has been marked?
Yes.
Okay.
So it'd be like an allies calling down a medevac dropship that would be
Exactly.
There we go.
Nozdormu has selected Hourglass of Time, or something really
Oh,
cool. Maybe there
goodness,
could
you'd
be a
have to
voiceover.
kite for a full 60 seconds. Sorry, guys. We can't make them regret this.
Right. That was my idea for number one. Kristen, what were you thinking for first heroic ability?
I was
Do they?
thinking-
Wait, does your team not die? Do you not get the XP if your team wiped? Or does the enemy team not get the XP if your team wiped?
Oh.
Because that would be massive in a lot
I'm
of
thinking
cases.
they still get the XP.
Okay.
Like it rewinds the game as far... Well, that's a really good point. We're just going to let
These are the
Blizzard figure that one
important
out.
questions here.
Okay.
But that is a good point. I
Yeah.
mean, would they lose the XP? I would say maybe. Maybe if you wipe, you get a restart. You get a whole team. Let's do that team fight again. All right, Morales, don't jump in the front lines this time. Let's do it. Let's do it all over again.
Because of course,
But at
the,
the same-
the comeback mechanic in HOTS is that if you're behind and you get kills, you get bonus XP from those kills.
Right.
If you could just be like, okay, no, you didn't actually win that team fight. You didn't get the XP. You're not up a level now. You're still behind a whole talent tier.
Yeah, but then I was thinking that because you don't have any mana and
Yeah.
you're back to wherever you were, then the enemy team's like, okay, we've been rewound. Let's go take some camps. We've got the advantage here, or let's run them over. Let's steamroll them now because they're right there still.
I mean, yeah,
And
it would basically be you'd sacrifice a fort in order to
Right.
not get the deaths, but that's so worth it. That's so worth it.
Oh yeah, and overpowered, I think. But Kristen. What do you think? Let's take the heat off of me for a second.
Yeah,
here.
no, we're going to continue this conversation. You opened Pandora's box. All right, this one just, Murazan madness, because who wouldn't want to turn into his blue dragon form?
Right.
Nozdormu reaches the end of his life, losing hold of his sanity, and transforming into the all-powerful Murazan. In this form, he is capable of speeding up or slowing down countdown timers at spawn points. This only includes objective timers once the objective timers have officially begun.
That's great. That's like combining it all together. So what about do his basic attacks change when he transforms?
I'm thinking he would have a very similar kit. I wouldn't want him to transform into an assassin all of a sudden. Yeah, so a very similar kit. They probably have different names. They look a little different, but
Right.
nothing out of the ordinary.
That's cool. That's basically a big smorgasbord, just combining all the ideas that we had just into a heroic ability. I think that's really, really neat. Justin, what were you thinking for a heroic?
Well, the first heroic was very similar. I called it Bronze Emergence. And it's revert to your dragon form, getting a completely new set of abilities for 10 seconds.
Nice.
And your auto attack becomes a melee claw attack that deals like roughly double damage, somewhere in the assassin level range. Damage not quite up there,
Nice.
a little bit lower. And then so your new Q is a breath weapon that scorches the earth and leaves behind a damaging area
Nice.
on a relatively short cooldown, like 5-6 seconds.
Like
Yeah.
a Dragon Knight, right?
Yeah,
Is that
like a
what you're
Dragon
thinking?
Knight. So you'd be able to use it like roughly twice per ultimate, and then there's an upgrade at 20, but we'll get to that. Your new W is called Bite. You clamp onto an enemy hero, and then both of you are rooted in place for 2 seconds.
Oh,
So you can't move. Can you do any abilities or anything? You're just
You can both use your abilities. You're just both rooted. You can't move away. It's like a duel, right?
Oh.
And
Did anybody else picture him like biting down on Murky and Murky still being able to like throw his little pufferfish out
and Octo grab him? It would be hilarious.
He tries to bubble, but that dragon has a good hold on the bubble.
Yeah. That's like an 8-second CD, so you'd be able to use it twice per ult. And then his E is called Wings Up, and you get to instantly fly around a screen's width, so you can have free use of positioning at the start of a fight. You pop your ult, you go in, you can be anywhere you want, you can lock someone down for your dive team, right? Because this is like the dive ult.
Yeah.
And then you have your breath weapon is a zoning sort of thing, because it does damage on the ground. So if you walk over it to try and save your teammate, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like the ultimate dive ult, companion ult, because he gets to transform into something that's actually useful. And then also, it would change his body size, right? So I don't know if you guys have noticed, a lot of the tanks are actually balanced around how big their sprites are. Because Diablo body blocks a lot better, and he's considered a gank tank, and body blocks are really important for ganks, whereas Tyrael is like slim and effeminate. And he doesn't body block so well, but that's because he's a support tank. It's not his job to be a body blocker. So it would actually change his size to like be bigger. His model would be bigger.
Well, and the positioning.
And the positioning would make his body blocks be substantially stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounded tanky. I like it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Cool. Kristen, what were you thinking for his second heroic ability?
For the second one, we were doing the final countdown. The song would have to play, and we got Nozdormu places an area of effect spell on the ground, either slowing down time for the enemy team or speeding it up for his team. At level 20, these begin to spawn randomly across the map until the entire battlefield is covered in them.
Wow.
As he loses control of time.
Yeah, because that's like, wow. See, that's actually pretty cool and practical in a way. You know, that's a cool idea. So, yeah, I dig it. I dig both of those ideas a lot. Like the what Justin was talking about the positioning. What if you could combine those two in a certain way where, because obviously you want to be standing in a section that's going to be helping your team, not hurting it, right?
Yes.
So positioning would be huge on that.
Immense. Quick match would be forever thrown to the wayside.
Right. Yep. And then again, chat would be blowing up in this game. I'm telling you. Justin, what were you thinking about for his second heroic?
His second heroic is Fate's Resurgence. All basic ability cooldowns of all other heroes on your team are reset.
Oh.
There you go.
Best
I like
friend.
that. Best friend. Yeah, that's right.
So you get like the quad bomb from KT. You get double blizzard from Jaina. You get 2 orbs from Li Ming.
You're getting it all.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, Li Ming should be. I mean, with this, it should just be off of cooldown completely.
Yeah,
like
it'd be absolutely ridiculous. The downside. This is so strong that I gave it a downside, which is that you get frozen in time for 5 seconds and cannot act at all.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. I'm buying it now. Mm-hmm. I'm buying it. That's a good. Oh man, this would just be a mess. You'd have to have some heroes with some pretty beefy health pools going up against this hero, because things would just be coming at you like crazy. Living bombs, like you said, Justin. All those things. Yeah, crazy. My second heroic kind of plays off of what Kristen was saying, and kind of what Justin's first heroic was, Murzad. And Nozdormu transforms into his evil, corrupted self. And this changes all of his abilities and his class to tank. See, I went further. I was thinking, let's move him over to tank. And he would have a permanent boost to his movement speed and would not be able to mount. So it would be kind of like a Lunara situation where he's able to fly through the battlefield quickly, but not as fast as if he was mounted. And all of his abilities would be changed to the following abilities, and he couldn't return to his prior self. So you really have to you have to make that decision. Okay, we're really losing the tank battle in this. I gotta move over to Murzad and just tank this out. And my Q would be a temporal blast. This is all directly the things that in WoW, in the raid, when you fight this character, these are the things it can do. He would have a tail sweep that would do a cone damage that pushes people back, kind of like Cho and Gall when they have that, that hammer that pushes them back like that. And then they would have a purple fire breath that does damage in a cone, and it burns for damage over time. So just completely doing a 180 on how I was thinking the character was, changing classes in the middle of the game. So that was my idea on that.
I like it. I think I like it because I feel with some characters too, when you're waiting for 16, it completely alters how your play style. So I think level 20, when you literally you change your play style, it would work.
Yeah, it would be something. I don't know if it would work.
It would work. It would work. Someone would make it work.
I would be that person that would be choosing that, and then the whole team would be like, "You gave up all those cooldown abilities. You chose to be the tank. What the hell?"
What were you thinking? GGN install, guys.
Exactly. You didn't take Void Prism? That happened to me once.
Uh-oh.
I think I got called an imbecile that game. But that was worse. Justin, you said you had some ideas about the level 20 augmentation.
Yeah,
of this character.
I made level 20 upgrades for my ultimates.
Cool,
Yes.
let's hear them.
The first upgrade's kind of tame. It just increases the duration to 20 seconds, and you take you shrug off CC effects while you're in dragon form, so you're no longer CCable, or like 75%, somewhere in that range. Like,
Yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd call that tame. Oof.
it's pretty tame. It's just tame compared to the second option.
Okay, let's hear it.
Fate's Resurgence upgrade is your ultimate now also sets heroic cooldowns to 10 seconds if they are currently on CD.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
So you
But
hit
they
your
have to be on CD, you said.
yeah. So you have to make sure that you coordinate your team so that everyone uses their heroics, and then you pop your ult, and then all of their normal abilities immediately are free to use, and all of their ults are only 10 seconds away from being used again.
Oh.
Whoa. Whoa. I mean, we have to remember this is a dragon, guys. Like
Yeah.
this is not a mage. This is not, this is a dragon.
Yeah, it was
So
one of the dragons chosen by the ancients, too. Not just
Exactly.
some run-of-the-mill dragon.
Oh, ours does not feel like a run-of-the-mill dragon. I'll tell you that. Our dragons are badass dragons. I'm saying that, yeah. Because just to review a little bit of everything that we've talked about, we're all on the same page, We feel that if this character was in the game, it should be able to control things that are uncontrollable currently, like cooldowns for characters. It should be able to augment the time around map objectives, or be able to change the position of heroes based on where they were and where they're going, all playing off of the time, which is exactly what you were talking about at the beginning, wasn't it, Justin? That's why this hero would be awesome in Heroes of the Storm.
It'd be so good. It would be so, because there's so many time-based things that are so critical in HOTS, and it's just having any sort of control over that at all would be a massive advantage. And it would be with the detriment, because you're not talking about, at least the character I built doesn't do a lot of damage. Like, none of his basic abilities really do any damage at all. They're all kind of defensive. But just that aspect of battlefield control
Definitely
would be such an asset that you would make up for it with the rest of your draft. And which is one of the things I love about HOTS is as a team game, each person can have a role, and you can build a team that can do everything together. But each individual hero maybe can't really do very much on their own.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, there are some I mean, I would love to see the HOTS logs on this hero, like how much longer the games would be. I know that's always a goal for that's a goal for Hearthstone and Blizzard, right? Is they're trying to make the Hearthstone games not just be complete steamroll, where it lasts for 6 turns, they mysterious challenger, and then you're dead, right? So this would be kind of the Reno Jackson to Heroes, where it would definitely increase the time of a game played, right?
I'm sure it would. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, I mean, especially if you have...
Also,
the
that
ability
would be
to
a really good
control
hero
objectives.
to do on HeroesForge, is Reno Jackson.
We did Elise Starseeker before, and she
I saw
was a
that.
blast.
Yeah, that looked fun.
But Reno would be really good. I mean, Justin, we should have you back on, and we should do Reno at some point, because that would be a blast.
I'm okay with that.
Cool, cool, very cool. Well, at this point, I think we've definitely we've forged an OP hero, so I think we can say that hero was forged.
Hero Forged.
So awesome. Such great ideas and really theory crafting what this hero would be. And again, we know these ideas, some of them aren't practical, some of them are. And if this hero ever comes to Heroes of the Storm, hopefully Blizzard can implement some of these ideas and, make them not OP or, fun and balanced, because I really think Nozdormu would be a great addition to the game. So at this point, I really, really want to thank everyone that has reviewed us on iTunes. It's a huge help to the show to show people that it's a good quality show. And if you really enjoy the show, hop on over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review there. And make sure you leave a little comment so that we can see who left the 5-star review. I really want to thank Justin Tompkins for giving us our first 5-star review on iTunes. And then, of course, Squinty Eyes gave us a 5-star review as well. So thank you guys for doing that. We really, really appreciate it. So if you're listening to the show and you haven't, hop on over there and do a quick little 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. It would be great. Awesome. So, Justin, where can people find you on the interwebs?
I'm actually, I stream on Twitch Monday through Friday from 1 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do stream a lot of HOTS and a lot of Hearthstone. I talk about HOTS as more of an educational experience. Like I try to make the stream very educational, how you can get better at the game, how certain heroes play, how matchups work, drafting tips, all sorts of stuff. And then I also cast Chair League on Monday nights and Thursday nights. I think I'm casting 8 games this week. Whoa. So 4 on Monday and 4 on Thursday. So you guys can come check that out as well. Or if you have a team who's playing in Chair League, you can support them. I might be casting them. Although this week we have 61 casts, so I guess we have 122 teams signed up for this week.
Smokes.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Congratulations. That's phenomenal.
That's a lot of people. I'm just a caster for Chair League. I didn't do anything in the organization.
Yeah, but casting is still a big deal.
And I've watched you cast some shows on Twitch, and you are very good, especially, because they talk a lot on a lot of these other Heroes of the Storm podcasts about how hard it is to solo cast a game like HOTS, and I've seen you do it on there sometimes, and it's really, really great. So, Justin, what's your Twitch channel so everyone can know about that?
I'm Cavalier Guest on Twitch. No space.
Great.
I can actually link it in chat for those people who want to. That's me.
Oh.
Awesome. Very cool.
Make life easy. So yeah, follow me
cool.
on Twitch.
And I will put the link to Justin's Twitch channel in the show notes, and it'll be posted on the website. So, Kristen, where can people find you on the interwebs?
People can find me at Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Dream Destroyer, DRMDESTRYR, and of course, my fun fitness blog, rippedforblizzcon.weebly.com.
Totally awesome. Rip for BlizzCon. I totally dig it. So thank you everyone for listening to Heroes Forge. Just a few places that you can find us. You can actually find us here on twitch.tv/HeroesForge every Sunday night at 7 o'clock Pacific time, where we forge heroes. You can follow us on Twitter at Forge Heroes. That's our Twitter handle there, and that's where we make the announcement of the hero that we're going to be forging. Usually we make it at the end of the previous week. So we announced Nozdormu yesterday, so you can get a little inside peek to the episode on Sunday if you follow us on Twitter. Also, make sure that you watch all of our previous episodes on YouTube. You can find them at youtube.com/HeroesForge. We forged some awesome characters. The Dark Wanderer. We forged the Overmind. We forged Elise Starseeker like we talked about, and last week's episode of Imperius was killer. So you should check all of those out, and you can also subscribe to us on iTunes like we talked about before, and then you can get episodes delivered to your iPhone or any of your iDevices directly if you subscribe. Also, we're launching our Patreon campaign. Kristen and I have come up with some really, really, really awesome ideas. If you'd like to support the show, you can become a Patreon at patreon.com/HeroesForge. It's a website that allows you to throw a couple bucks our way to keep the show going, and also there are some incentives for our Patreons over there that we'll be talking about in a later episode. Justin and Kristen, this was awesome. Thank you so much, Justin, for joining us. You're a rock star, man.
I don't know about that, but I had a lot of fun. This is super cool. I had a lot of fun thinking up ideas all week for how to manipulate time. I even wrote my wife into helping me think of some ideas Time.
There you go. You got to call in all the troops for that.
But I had a really great time, and the Heroes Forge is, I think, a really cool idea. So I'm glad you guys invited me on.
Cool. Thank you so much. And we will definitely get you back on here when we start talking about another one of our Hearthstone friends, Reno Jackson. What do you think?
I think that'd be really fun. I think I could make Reno Jackson very broken.
Good. That's the challenge.
That's the challenge, and I think we have succeeded with Nozdormu. Don't you think, Kristen?
I think he's probably the most broken hero we've done so far. But amazingly broken. And if we're going to have a dragon, that's what you got to do.
It's a dragon, people. It's a dragon. I'm telling you. Totally awesome. All right, well, that's going to be the end of our show today. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you tune in next week, where we'll be forging another character from the Blizzard universe for use in Heroes of the Storm. And until then, we will definitely see you all in the real world.